Hey guys, my group decided to do a presentation. The agency we worked with was with the Lovers Key State Park, located near Fort Myers Beach. Our group members are Diana, Jasmine, Liam, Duncan, myself, and Caroline. The issues we addressed, the first one was trails/beach maintenance, making sure the trails that visitors to the state park use are well maintained to decrease the chance of injuries. Nobody wants to go to a state park and get injured. That's the worst. The second was plastic pollution, picking up trash and large pieces of plastic in the park and on the beach, like plastic water bottles, plastic containers. And then the third was the microplastic. So the plastic that comes from when the larger pieces of plastic break down. These are called microplastics, and they get throughout all the sand. So we wanted to make sure we picked up as much as we could.
So now why these issues are important. The trail maintenance issue is important because you don't want anyone injured, like Cole said. Clearing trails of overgrown bushes and trees. You don't want any trees, branches coming down and poking anyone. Plastic pollution causes animals to get tangled up and trapped, especially birds with plastic bags and other types of plastic. And then microplastics, they get ingested by the animals, such plastic beads are an example of a microplastic.
So our objectives for the project our main goal was to help the local environment by removing any non-native vegetation, removal of large plastic and microplastic. So one of our objectives was to clear out 2 large areas of the park that are now being used for picnic areas, or the park rangers are using it as an informational center where the visitors of the park can come and learn about the local environment of the park. The other objective is to clean the north end of the beach of the park of plastic and microplastic and any trash in order for the seabirds that nest there to raise their young. And then our last objective was to clean any walkways and pick up litter that was there or any branches so visitors can safely walk on that trail without getting hurt.
These are one of the picnic areas where we cleaned up. There were a lot of leaves on the floor that we were able to rake up and low-hanging branches that we cut off. We also inspected the area for poison ivy, as well as changed the locations of the picnic tables to make it more inviting to the guests of the park.
Then me and Cole did the North End beach cleanup. The main priority for this cleanup was to clean up any trash that was in the way for any of the birds that plan to nest this spring. It was good to get in there before the spring nesting season, and it was really just to remove plastic and microplastics so the birds can nest.
During the walkway cleanup, we worked together to cut the overgrown branches and plants that were blocking or interfering with the path. The purpose of this was to make the area safe for everyone to walk on the trail without walking in the street and with the risk of getting hurt. We also ran into some poison ivy, but luckily we were able to quickly identify it by the 3 leaves and the pointed sides because of Brian teaching us how to identify the poison ivy.
The results of the first day were the cleaning up of the overgrown areas, and this led to opening up the area and being safe for visitors to use. The second cleanup was picking up the plastic off the beach, and this would help the nesting seabirds there. And the third cleanup was on a walkway, and removing everything there allowed a clear path for people to walk through. And there was a small challenge we faced on the first day. We were expecting to remove invasive species, but the park rangers informed us that there wouldn't be any in the 2 areas we were working. So instead we focused on trail maintenance. But the park ranger Brian did show us how to identify some harmful invasive species and native plants that live there. For example, the brown anole would eat the green anole's eggs, decreasing their population.
The foundational elements and skills that we use, the first one was serving. We used direct service throughout the entire project by clearing areas, picking up trash along the beach, and then maintaining the trails that people walk on. The second element we used was critical thinking. This element came in handy when we had to decide how to remove large amounts of vegetation like leaves and bushes and tree limbs, which we used an ATV that Brian provided with us. He drove to the dump station, dumped the vegetation, came back, we loaded it up, and he went and dumped it again. And we were able to move a lot of tree limbs and leaves in a short amount of time. And lastly, the last skill is leading. Brian and Stephanie, shown above, showed us how to lead and just gave us the foundational steps of how to lead each other. And we used that skill to lead each other throughout the entire project, completing assignments and other assignments that the park rangers gave us. The perspective I learned a lot more about the importance of the environment. Without a healthy and thriving environment, we have nothing. The major impact I received by doing this project is I may be only one person, but I have a lot of power. I can get a lot done if I just take initiative. Initiative meaning if I just join more like volunteering groups, contact my government officials, and then learning different life skills. The one that I learned more about is how to lead. I learned from the park rangers, and this will not only help me with the rest of my college experience, but with the rest of my life and what I choose to do with my life. And lastly, I just want to tell the people that are listening, just take better care of the environment. Like skipping the plastic bags can make a major impact for a healthy environment.
What I really learned in this project was to be more involved with wildlife and volunteer with more state parks. I learned more about the wildlife in the couple of days that I volunteered than I ever have. Even though I'm one person, I can make a big difference. And I learned the environment always needs help, and we can set an example for others to help keep the environment clean.
During this, I helped clean up the overgrown areas and clear the walkways. And during that time, I learned about the importance of the environment and the native species that were living there. And the rangers taught us how to identify them. And I just want to tell others how important the environment is and how it'll be here for much longer than we will be, and how important it is to preserve it.
So for me, I learned a lot about the importance of just maintaining a park or a beach, and I also learned how to identify invasive species and poison ivy, which I didn't know how before. For example, I have the picture above is a Virginia creeper, which a lot of people mistake as poison ivy, and in the bottom picture is what poison ivy actually looks like. And the project impacted me because by experiencing teamwork, and I learned the importance of volunteering. The park rangers told us that they really do appreciate when people come and volunteer because they don't have a lot of workers to do just basic work around the park, so they really like it when people come out and help. And I also would like people to know that it's important to know the necessity of keeping the environment clean and about the damaging effects of invasive species.
I was able to carpool with my teammates, and I was a source of transportation for them. I was able to successfully get most of my teammates to and from the park. I was also able to help clean the picnic area in the state park by cutting overgrown branches and plants, picking up litter, and I also helped clean the walkway on the side of the road so visitors can walk safely. I learned how to identify native species such as the grapevine tree and poison ivy. Overall, my volunteer experience helped me understand the importance of maintenance in state parks and how nature and the community come hand in hand with volunteering, and especially in civic engagement.
I worked with coordinating the team schedule with the community partners who have times and dates that we can come out and volunteer at the park. And with this project, we learned the importance of park maintenance, not only for the environment and clearing up litter, but for people enjoying the scenery and not getting injured. We restored the picnic area and we cleared a pathway for pedestrians so that they would not have to risk walking on the road. During the project, we learned about various plant species and their effect on the environment, like poison ivy, the sable palm, and the Virginia creeper. We also learned about wildlife in the area, like the anoles, manatees, and dolphins.
And these are just our resources that we have from our research. And now we have a live interview with the park ranger, Brian.
Well, the first question that we had was, how does civic engagement from the community help the park, but also the environment?
Well, any civic engagement, volunteer work that's done in our park is helping the environment. I mean, that's what our park mission is to protect the environment, our little piece of it anyway. And anytime we get civic engagement volunteers that come in, they are assisting us in our job. Civic engagement, we're building a better and better relationship with FGCU, which is outstanding, not only in uh, the assistance that we're getting in our park from volunteers like yourselves, but then it's also each one of you is learning a little bit more about our park.
Well, how important is it for like trail maintenance?
Two important factors in there. When we're doing the trail maintenance, we're making it safe for walkers, bicyclists, joggers. Um, you don't have to worry about getting poked in the eye with a stick or a twig. We keep the poison ivy and the uh, um, cactus plants off the trail so people don't have to worry about getting cut or scratched or getting rash from poison ivy. But then it's also an opportunity while we're out on the trails is to look for those sneaky little invasive species that are trying to establish a foothold in the park.